guys, it's Maddie, and today I will be doing my winter 2018 wrap-up. So this is a series I do seasonally where I show you guys all the books I read during the season and also the top 5 books that I read during that season. So today we'll be going over what books I read in winter 2018 and which ones were the top 5 books that I read in winter. So how I'm going to do this is I'm going to show you the book along with my rating, and I'm not going to say anything more than that because if I told you my thoughts on each and every one of these 32 books, this would be an entirely long video that isn't necessary. So I'm just going to hold up each of the books and tell you what my rating was for them. And I will be showing you the books that I read from December 2017 to February 2018. I will be doing these in order of when I read them. So with all that out of the way, let's just get started. So starting with December, the first book I read was Slammed by Colleen Hoover, which I gave 2 stars. Then I read Ouran High School Host Club Volume 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11, all by Bisco Hattori. And I gave all of those 5 stars except for volume 10, which was a 4 star. Next I have Things We Know by Heart by Jessie Kirby, and I gave this 5 stars. Then I read Always and Forever Laura Jean by Jenny Han, the third and final book to the To All the Boys I've Loved Before trilogy, and I gave this 4 stars. Then I read Turtles All the Way Down by John Green, and I gave this 3 stars. Twilight by Stephanie Meyer, and I gave this 4 stars. In Real Life by Cory Doctorow and Jen Wang, and I gave this 3 stars. Going on to January, I read The Problem with Forever by Jennifer L. Armentrout, which was a reread because I had been dying to read this since it's my favorite book, and I of course gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. Eleanor and Park by Rainbow Rowell, and I gave this 3 stars. Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell, and I gave this 1 star. P.S. I Like You by Casey West, another reread, and I gave this 5 stars. Ouran High School Host Club Volume 12 by Bisco Hattori, and I gave this 5 stars. The Wrath and the Dawn by Renee Audier, and I gave this 4 stars. If There's No Tomorrow by Jennifer L. Armentrout, and I gave this 5 stars. The Unbecoming of Mara Dyer by Michelle Hodkin, and I gave this 4 stars. And Meet Cute, an anthology edited by Jennifer L. Armentrout, and I gave this 5 stars. Now going into February, the first book I read that month was Stolen by Lucy Christopher, and I gave this 5 stars. Obsidian by Jennifer L. Armentrout, and I gave this 5 stars. The Coldest Girl in Cold Town by Holly Black, and I gave this 5 stars. Every Day by David Levithan, and I gave this 5 stars. And lastly, Orange Volume 4 by Ichigo Takano, and I gave this 4 stars. So those were all the books that I read this winter, and now I'm going to show you my top 5 favorite books that I read this season. So let's just get into it. And I will be showing these books in order from least most favorite to most favorite book. So coming in at 5th place is Things We Know by Heart by Jessie Kirby. I knew before going into this book that I was going to like it. The synopsis just sounded so intriguing. This is a book about a girl whose boyfriend has recently died, and he had his organs sent out to other people who need them after he died, and she has found everyone who has his organs except for the boy who has his heart. So she goes searching for him, spends more time with him, and ends up falling in love with him. It sounded like such a unique love story that I've never heard before, and I was so intrigued by it. And so I got around to reading it, and I was not disappointed. This book gave me so many feels. I would highly recommend it. It's a book that came out quite a while ago. I think it came out in 2015, and it's unfortunately not very well known. Like, I've only heard about this book like a handful of times on BookTube. This one just doesn't get enough love, and I really ended up enjoying it, and I think more people need to read it. Especially if you're looking for a unique love story, this is such a good one. And next in 4th place, I have Obsidian by Jennifer L. Armentrout. This is another book that I knew I was going to love before I even started reading it because Jennifer L. Armentrout has become a favorite author, so I just knew I was going to love this, and I did. However, I did not like it as much as I loved The Problem with Forever and If There's No Tomorrow, but this was still so great. This is definitely her most popular series. This is a series about a girl who discovers that her next door neighbor is an alien, and she starts to develop feelings for him. It's not very original. It's basically Twilight, but instead of vampires, there's aliens. It's the exact same thing, but I still really loved it. This is a really good guilty pleasure book. and I can't wait to read more from this series. This one is a bind-up of the first 2 books. So I have the first 2 books with me, and I need to get the rest of the series because this is a series I really want to binge read. So it was really good, was not disappointed, and I can't wait to read more Jennifer L. Armentrout books because I just absolutely love her. At 3rd place, I have Stolen by Lucy Christopher. This was a very dark book, and sometimes I'm just really in the mood for those dark contemporary reads, so I ended up really enjoying this one. This one is about a girl who gets kidnapped from the airport and taken by this man in the middle of the desert in Australia, and he's holding her captive, and this girl does not like her captor at all at first, which you would think she wouldn't. But as she gets to know him more, she starts to sympathize with him, and that is such a unique thing about this book, is you really start to sympathize with the captor, and I found myself like feeling for him, and it was such a unique experience. This is a book that really will make you think, and sometimes I really enjoy those types of books. So I really love this one. I had it for 2 years and it came out so long ago, and I finally got around to reading it, and I really enjoyed it. Coming in 2nd place, this one was so close to first. I love this book so much. Like, I can't stop talking about it on my channel now. That is The Coldest Girl in Cold Town by Holly Black. This was the first Holly Black book I had read, and it made me fall in love with her writing and her books. I love this book. This one has a very complicated synopsis, I feel like. If I can explain it right, it is about this world where vampires exist, and vampires have become like an epidemic, and a lot of people are becoming infected, and in this system, when a vampire bites someone, that person is infected, but they don't become a full vampire until they taste blood. So it is really a unique take on the vampire genre. I've never seen like vampire lore done this way, so I really enjoyed that. And along with that, this book follows a girl who is traveling to Cold Town, which is a place that is like a quarantine for these vampires, where they are kept away from society so that more people don't get infected. She is traveling there for reasons, and I will leave it at that. It is such a great book. A lot of people were saying that this book was slow. I didn't feel that way at all. I felt like in the beginning it was so fast-paced, like so much was happening, and I was so intrigued by what was happening, and I wanted to read more. I will say at the middle though, it does slow down, but I honestly didn't mind that because I was so interested in these characters and their story, and I always just wanted to read more. So I really enjoyed this. If I could read it all over again, I would, but I don't have time because I have other books I need to read. But this one was definitely worth the read, and it was such a surprise because I thought I was going to hate it because so many people don't like this book, but I ended up loving it. So that was such a surprise, and I'm so glad that I did end up loving it. And lastly, at number 1, this is my favorite book that I read this winter, and I've been talking about this one a lot as well because it's by one of my favorite authors now, and I had to put it at number 1 because I don't know how I couldn't. And this is If There's No Tomorrow by Jennifer L. Armentrout. This book came out late last year, so I had been dying to read it, especially because it's a contemporary. So it's a lot like The Problem with Forever, because that was also a contemporary, so I'm like, I need to read this author's contemporary books so bad. So I got around to reading it finally in January. Was not disappointed. It was so good, but it was so sad. I cried multiple times throughout this book. I honestly can't say like the synopsis to it or anything because this is a book you really need to go into blindly because pretty much the whole plot is a spoiler. So I'm not going to say much about it, but this book handles topics of grief so well, and that's like the main theme of this book. So just expect to have a lot of feels going into this book. But I'm so glad that it didn't disappoint me. I still think The Problem with Forever is better than this one, just because that book hit me on such a personal, emotional level that this book didn't, but I still really love this. I felt for the characters. It made me think. about certain things, and I think the overall message and theme of this book was so important, and because of that I think this is a book that so many teenagers need to read. I think it's such an important book that really teaches you a lesson, so I loved it. It's definitely my favorite book I read this winter, and of course I will definitely reread it someday. So those were my top 5 books that I read this winter. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I will come back with another one of these types of videos at the end of spring, which will probably be sometime in June, because that's when spring ends for me. So in that video I'll go over the books I read from March to May, and then my top 5 books that I read in spring, and hopefully I'll read a lot of good books in spring. We'll just see how that goes. So thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know in the comments what were your favorite books that you read this winter, because I would love to know. And if you like this video, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe down below for more bookish related videos.